How did you transition from investments, real estate investments, to being a more traditional broker and working more with the public, buyers, sellers, that sort of thing?
I wasn't shy about telling people what I do for a living, which I think is half the battle. People began asking me to do their kitchens and bathrooms, and they also asked me for help renting and then eventually buying. So it happened very, very organically. So for the first, say, 2-3 years while I had my real estate license, that only accounted for maybe 5 or 10% of my true income. And then over time, I saw that gradually shifting, and I found myself being drawn to real estate brokering more so than the construction side.
So you guys had this huge growth in like a 1-year period. Is there any one thing that really exploded that growth? Or was it just, hey, we just put our head down and we did our push-ups every day, and then all of a sudden, really, I'm sure that's probably the real answer, but you had such a big growth. I was just curious if there was any one event that really spurred it, or it was just, no, we just did our work every day.
Early on, I recognized that my value was on bigger picture stuff. So I put an assistant in place really, really early. And I know I'm not the first person to say that. So that, coupled with having a really robust CRM so that leads aren't slipping through the cracks. And then, frankly, I invested in Zillow in some capacity. I spent some serious money on there, and I had a system in place where we ended up being among the top in the country for lead conversion on Zillow.
If you have a system to work those leads, the average broker who gets a lead like that maybe tries to follow up 1 or 2 times and then drops the lead. And I'm sure, and Ben knows, it's sometimes there's many phone calls before that lead actually converts.
Well, I mean, I'm still working Zillow leads from 2017. Some of which ignore you for a year.
You never give up on a lead, and if you have a CRM like Ben has Salesforce, which is like the preeminent CRM in across all industries, you can automate a lot of this, and it's really, really important. But you never ever give up, right?
We have a team policy that a lead isn't dead, and we have a priority literally called dead. And they're not dead until they tell you to F off in some regard. And that's fine. And you have to have a little bit of a thick skin, but you don't get what you don't ask for.
So that is an incredible growth that you guys had, and you continue to have. And then a year after hitting 14 million, which is almost a 400% increase. And last year you guys did almost 24 million, which is just, again, was there any thing else that changed, or was it like, no, this is just what happened as a result of us following our process?
I think adding social media to our ordinary push really, really helped, because I really believe that the second I get off the phone with someone, they're Googling my name.
Oh, of course.
And they're going to see 20, 30 videos of me talking about real estate. And, we have a very targeted demographic that we're going after, and, I'm speaking directly to them. So, I get connected via live Zillow connection, and they have no idea who I am. They Google me and they're like, oh, like this guy actually knows what he's doing. I feel like I'm picking up an additional 10 or 20% of clients that would have just fallen by the wayside just by the social media efforts that we're doing.
And by the way, the other thing about having videos is it shows who you are physically. It's like, oh, that's a real person I'm talking to. Here's a video where I can see and hear him providing, content, valuable content to me. And it humanizes you too as well, which is really smart.
So kind of piggybacking off of that, there was that car 2020 outlook thing that happened last week or 2 ago. And they were talking about how millennials are, they accounted for 50% of new mortgage origination in 2019.
Wow.
And kind of thinking about that, I have a story about, so there's this one guy, he's 28, and he actually found me on Instagram, and he's like, oh, I knew I needed a real estate broker, and I started my search on Instagram. And that blew my mind. So you're talking about how YouTube is the second largest search engine.
Yeah.
Millennials are using Instagram, using LinkedIn.
Right.
As the search engine.
Yes.
And I was floored. So, I mean, you can see the tide turning